8.com.
Last practice. Sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash for trade. TTL Extra, see dealer for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more. It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
All right, here we are, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports in New Orleans. Tomorrow night, Baylor
and Ole Miss. Yesterday, we had the 1961 Sugar Bowl MVP and Jay Gibbs on, and what a story. The former Ole Miss quarterback was an MVP of the Sugar Bowl, also played a decade with the New York Yankees at the end of some eras and also the beginning of many others of the great names of Yankees lore. And there's Dusty Renfro, played in the mid to late 90s with the University of Texas in a Sugar Bowl game against Virginia Tech, but a much bigger story than that, although he was one hell of a football player. And Dusty, nice enough to stop on his way out of town on a business trip to join us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Dusty, thanks for your time. I know you didn't win the game, the Sugar Bowl game against Virginia Tech, but what are the memories of playing in one of those New Year's Day bowl games at the University of Texas?
Well, that was a great trip. We had a great week of practice leading into that Sugar Bowl game against Virginia Tech, and I can remember how fun it was to be in New Orleans for a week and spend that time with my teammates. And Virginia Tech was a really tough team, and they played better than we did that day, and they got the win. But what a great experience it was to play in that bowl game in 1995. I guess it was January 1 of 96 probably, but it was the 95 season.
How big was it for Texas? I mean, the Sugar Bowl at the time wasn't, an SWC Big 12 tie-in. It was to kind of get there. It was weird for a team like Texas to be in that game.
Yeah, that was the last year of the Southwest Conference. So we beat A&M in College Station to win the last Southwest Conference championship, and was invited to the Sugar Bowl, and we were very excited to get that opportunity to go play on that kind of stage.
What do you think of the current makeup of the Longhorns program? I mean, obviously sitting at home at bowl season this time around, but a lot of hype, getting Quinn Ewers in the transfer portal, hiring some new coaches. What do you think of Steve Sarkisian after the first year and what they're looking like potentially heading into year number 2?
You know what? It takes time to build a program, and it doesn't happen overnight. And you've got to give a new head coach some time to implement his philosophy and bring in his recruits. So we're still optimistic. Obviously, we want to win now, but we understand that it does take time, and I think that we're going to continue to get better, and hopefully we'll get back to the Sugar Bowl soon.
So I'm glad we have you on, Dusty, because the Sugar Bowl, John Sudsbury, who's the media relations guy, is the one that recommended we call you because of your time at the Sugar Bowl, and they honor you for not just the fact you played in the game, but a lot of things that you've done. You're an incredibly successful businessman, real estate to all business. You also helped your father extend his life, which is what you would think any son would want to do if there's that possibility, or vice versa. And then also, when you played linebacker at Texas, you wore Tommy Nobis's number 60 as a captain at the University of Texas, and Mac Brown once said you were the ultimate leader and perfect middle linebacker. Go back to what that meant to wear Tommy Nobis's number that game.
Yeah, I remember Coach Brown called Tommy Nobis to get his permission for me to wear that number, and Tommy said it would be an honor for me to wear that number in the Cotton Bowl and in my very last game against Mississippi State. And when I put that number on in the locker room, I felt like Superman. And I think we held Mississippi State to -6 yards rushing in that bowl game.
Jackie, wait a minute, how much? Yeah. Minus what?
-6 yards rushing for the entire game.
Was that Jackie Sherrill was the coach there then?
He was, yeah.
Oh, he must have been hot. How about that?
Oh, my Lord.
It was a day of total domination. I mean, they couldn't – there was no doubt who the better team was after that game.
So how much does it hurt you sometimes? And I know that they're trying to go through this transition with Sarkisian year 2, and Craig mentioned trying to reload or load up the roster. When you watch the defense, last year they struggled. This year at times they struggled. How frustrating is it, even though it's a different game today in college football?
Coach Brown used to always say there's a lot of parity in college football. He said, anytime you're in an interview and you don't know what to say say there's a lot of parity in college football.
Yep.
It's, that's why they play the game. These teams have great recruits, great players, great coaches. You just never know who's going to come out with the win. So it's all about preparation during the week and during the season and getting better every day. That's what it's all about.
You were huge underdogs in the first ever Big 12 championship game, and Nebraska was coming off back-to-back national titles. And I won't forgive you for what happened that day because I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan, and that's hard to be right now. But what I know James Brown made the comments. They were it. They were what ran college football during that time. What was the mentality once that game was set and that week before that game?
Well, I can remember James making that statement in the paper, and we all backed him up. Said, you know what? If he's going to come out and say it, we're going to make it happen. And so we went into that game super fired up. I think it's Coach Makovich's best speech he ever gave. I was telling my 16-year-old son about that game, that pregame, just yesterday. And the speech that Coach Makovich gave, he said our motto for that game was Carpe Diem, seize the day. We were playing for all the underdogs in the country that day. Nobody believed that we could do it, and we shocked the world. We came out and beat the team that was supposed to go on and win the national championship right after they played us.
What was, of course, it ruined my, as a Florida State fan, it meant that Florida had to play Florida State again, and we got lucky the first time in that year. Dusty, what was that like transferring the transfer from Makovich to Mac Brown?
You know what? That very different coaching philosophies. Coach Makovich was more of an offensive coach, offensive-minded. Coach Brown was a little more defensive-minded, I think. And Coach Brown, when you play for Coach Brown, it's like you're his son for the rest of your life. You always have access to him. I still text with him and talk with him 20 some odd years later. I played for him one season, and it's like I played my entire career for him.
Yeah, and man, I tell you what, he turned that thing around, and you had to get over the hump. Eventually, Texas did with Oklahoma, and they did, and the rest is history with what he did for so long. What are your thoughts about right now the coaching changes? You played, you saw a coaching change. Paul just brought that up from Makovich to Mac Brown. Yep. It worked out for UT, but it seems like it's more prevalent now than ever before as a player within a system. It seemed like it happens now, Dusty, so much more frequently, and I thought it used to be pretty frequent in the first place.
Yeah, Texas is a tough place to coach. It's one of the toughest places because of the media, the expectations, the politics that you have to be a politician off the field and an outstanding national championship quality head coach on the field. And, it's probably one of the toughest jobs in the country when it comes down to it.
You are a successful businessman. You told me, in fact, you had to go on a business trip the last couple of days and you stopped so you could be a part of this show. What about the transition from being a football player and a leader to how does that affect and how has that impacted you as a businessman?
Well, I learned a lot from Coach Brown and from all of my other coaches and just being a leader on the field. It taught me a lot of leadership skills. And there's no substitute for hard work. I took that same attitude into business, and I just don't let anybody outwork me. You do what's right and work harder than everybody else, and good things happen.
The fact that you were able to help extend your father's life, and obviously most sons would do that, you would think, and most fathers would also do that. What was that like? Because I know it wasn't just the kidney. It was also making sure your father was healthy enough for that to happen in the first place.
Right. He he was required to lose over 100 pounds. He lost a total of about 120 pounds. Wow. And I worked out with him every day. I moved my entire family into his home with my mom and watched every bite that went in his mouth. We cooked for him. And I even went to work with him to make sure that he wasn't eating anything that I didn't know about. And he lost the weight in about 4 months, and nobody gave him a chance to lose that kind of weight. The doctors really didn't think he could do it because they don't see that very often. And I told him, I said, well, you don't know what you're dealing with here. This is life and death, and we're going to make it happen. We have to. We have no other option. And so I just took a page out of Mad Dog's book, our old strength coach in Texas, and it was all about that hard-ass work. Like he always said, at Hall.
Yeah. Mad Dog. I'm glad you brought that up, man. That was a dude. Hey, Dusty, thank you. John Sudsbury, the Sugar Bowl I mentioned, brought you up. It's a Believe in the Champions, and Dusty Renfro, the UT linebacker and great businessman, and what he also did for his father, and also the Tommy Nova story. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time. We won't keep you from getting back to what you need to do, but thanks a lot. Great to have you on the show.
You're very welcome. God bless. Thank you.
Dusty Renfro. We Believe in Champions, the All-State Sugar Bowl. Thanks to John Sudsbury for setting that up for us as well. When we come back, we continue. We're live in New Orleans. The Sugar Bowl tomorrow night, Ole Miss and Baylor. Right now, Alabama and Cincinnati, they've again restarted 17-3. Is that right? In the third quarter, after Alabama scored near the very end of the half to take a 14-point lead on the long throw. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. It is the last day of the finish the year event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Ram. What they have with Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, all of the brands with some discounts, dealer discounts, and incentives that they have for you as they want to finish the year. That also includes the weekend at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. You know the Ram truck, back-to-back Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Also named by J.D. Powers as the top quality vehicle brand as well. And what a great thing that is. Not only to be honored by J.D. Power, but also because of what they do in the truck business with the honors of the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Back to back. Allen Samuels with Ted Teague and his staff are there right now for you to launch yourself into the new year with a new vehicle with all the incentives and discounts available. Drop by the dealership. And again, they have cars, they have trucks and SUVs at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Jay from Pickup Outfitters here with your holiday gift-giving guide. So it seems the air fryer is an, air quotes, hot Christmas gift this year. An air fryer? Come on, really? First, an air fryer is not a real fryer. It has no grease. It's a mini convection oven. And you probably already have one of those in your house. So you're just wasting money on something that's not even real. You know what is real? A grill guard. It's made of real steel and it protects the truck of someone you love. And you can get one for that special person on your Christmas list at Pickup Outfitters. So avoid common Christmas gift mistakes like house slippers, a beard, nose, ear, hair, and eyebrow trimmer, or a man purse. You better not. Give a Christmas gift that says, I love you. A grill guard, a toolbox, running boards, and other great gifts at Pickup Outfitters. You can even get a gift certificate to let them pick out whatever they want. Pickup Outfitters is the Christmas gift headquarters. 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We are back inside the Marriott, the Media Hotel in the Arts District, New Orleans, Louisiana. Tomorrow night, Ole Miss and Baylor in a game that kicks off around 7:45. Alabama, Cincinnati have kicked the second half, 17-3. Cincinnati with the ball near midfield, down 17-3 Alabama. Jason King, Sikkim365.com, is here in New Orleans. Of course, also one of the analysts for Baylor men's basketball, but does a lot of work in covering the Baylor football team as well. Let's start with that game to try to get to 12 wins for the first time ever. And Dave Aranda with what he's like reincarnated himself within a year.
I don't want to say I guess I am kind of shocked. I mean, after a 2-7 season last year, I kind of had pegged this team as a 7-5, 8-4 kind of team. I thought people would be really excited about. And now it's just surpassed, all expectations. I told someone last night, I met a friend in town from Ole Miss, and he goes, "How good is Baylor?" And I said, Baylor's one of those teams you got to watch every week to really, really appreciate. If you watch them one time and they go out and beat someone 21-14 or something, you're thinking, that's decent. But when they start winning these close games week after week and start playing and continue to play sound football, real low on the penalties and turnovers and I think overall though it's just the culture. We talk about the Baylor basketball team and the culture they have and how everyone kind of feeds off of it and gets on the same page. I really just sense watching this football team that it's the same thing with these guys, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons for their success is that it's just the energy that you can sense when you watch them.
You know what I think I've been most impressed with, and it's kind of a different thing, but similar in the same realm as when they had the run with Browse and it was sustainable. It was because they just ran past you. They didn't necessarily physically beat you up. They just were it was a track meet all the time. This team is on the other end of that spectrum in that they're not necessarily going to track meet you all the time, but it's a wrestling match and you are going to get pummeled. Like physically dominated from beginning to end is their kind of MO.
Absolutely. And I think, for a while, what Briles was doing was kind of the hip thing to do. I mean, everyone was trying to emulate it. I mean, everyone was talking about the Big 12 and their high-powered offenses, and Briles teams were better at it than anyone. They were just really freaking good and fun to watch, and those are some of my favorite years ever of Baylor sports. But this has a different feel to it. But it's equally it's kind of like when you go to a baseball game. Sure, it's fun to go see a team hit 10 home runs and the scores 18-14. That's kind of entertaining. But when you go a lot, you really learn to appreciate the pitchers' duels. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that negatively at all. But to me, that's kind of how I feel about this Baylor football team. Is you really appreciate them when you follow the team religiously and you know about what they've been through and you know what kind of coach Rand is, what his philosophies are. I mean, I think that it's just a different feel, but equally as satisfying.
How impressed have you been by the way Aranda has grown and gotten more comfortable in his role compared to last year when, I mean, given the circumstances, anybody probably would have been weird, but his personality combined with those circumstances made it just sort of strange in a way. But he seems to know who he is and what he's about right now.
I think all of us, when he first came, everyone was impressed with the hire, thought it was a good move. But from the media standpoint, we were kind of like, oh, man, these are going to kind of be some boring press conferences. I remember those first Zoom calls they were having when they were in quarantine. I was like, oh, my gosh. But now he's kind of become a character, hadn't he? I mean, he hadn't really changed his delivery or anything, but he's kind of become, a character. And he's so insightful, and the things that he says off the top of his head have so much depth and perspective to him. It's amazing how deep he is. It was funny. I was in my hotel down the road. There was two people in the hotel gym yesterday, me and Dave Aranda.
Oh, wow. Is that right?
Never spoke to him. That never bothered him. I just let him do his thing. He was on that treadmill the whole time I was in there. It was probably about an hour, 45 minutes. I was kind of watching out the corner. Never changed his pace. Never went slower. Never went faster. Just stayed on that thing.
Yeah,
just stayed kind of like how he is. He just stays the same the whole time, and he had a nice little workout.
It is kind of odd, and this can maybe help us transition to basketball. But I've never met a coach in any sport that's like Scott Drew. I've never met anybody who has his personality that's legit. Their personality. Like some people will put on that mask, and they're not. Scott's legit. I've never met a football coach, any football coach anywhere, that's like Dave Aranda.
Not at all. I mean, I definitely have been around some stoic guys that are kind of boring, but I don't find him boring anymore. No. I look forward to his press conferences. Before I did, I was like, oh, we've got to transcribe all this, and we got to search for a needle in a haystack where there's a good quote that's not cliche. But now it's just the opposite. And
it's something that I had to learn him. I had to learn him, and I think he's learned himself as well. All right.
Dave, one thing I heard you say when I was just sitting over there listening is like it's kind of you've enjoyed watching him grow, even though he's only been here 2 years. But just watching him mature and kind of figure himself out a little bit as a head coach and maybe make some mistakes and get better. I said that about Scott Drew all the time. There were so many moments early in his career where you're like, what is he doing? And with Aranda, I'm not so much talking about an X's and O's thing, but but with Drew, we were like, what's he doing? Is he a good coach? Is he not? But it's like they've got to learn too. They've got to grow too, and just like players do when these guys become first-year head coaches. And we've watched that happen with Aranda.
So I don't think anyone thought that Baylor and especially Iowa State would be unbeaten as they meet tomorrow in Ames to start the Big 12 conference. But Baylor obviously has looked really good despite some youth and infusion. And Iowa State, my Lord, why are they who they are right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, are they really that good? I still haven't completely bought in, but their coach, TJ Altsberger, has done a great job with transfers, and a couple of young guys. And there's only like 2 or 3 guys on that team this year that were even there last. Good coach, court advantage. I still don't know if they're a top 4 or 5 team in the league. I think maybe top 5, but we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. I mean, I think that's a big test for them. Big test for Baylor. The home court advantage in the Big 12 at so many schools is strong, and Iowa State has one of the best ones. Now luckily, a lot of these Baylor guys that have been here 2-3 years, even during the COVID year before that, Matthew Meyer, those kind of guys, they've played in those situations. But you wonder, you hope an LJ Cryer, you hope Kendall Brown and Sohan will handle it well. But if they do, I think Baylor should win the game without question.
I saw a draft ranking during one of the Baylor games that had Kendall Brown as the 19th best player available. And my thought was, this is either the deepest pool of talent that the NBA draft has ever had, or that guy hasn't watched Kendall yet.
Right, that does seem That does seem pretty low. I think Kendall's done great so far, but I'll tell you this: I think it's nowhere close to his ceiling. Even his freshman ceiling, I think is still high. He's getting some points, but a lot of those points are on great passes from Akinjo, where he's catching the ball on an alley-oop or for an easy layup on a fast break. So I just think what I like most about Kendall Brown, as far as what he's done this year, is I was legit worried he was going to come in, have his mind on the NBA, was not going to fit into the team culture. Then all of a sudden he becomes a distraction in practice. He hasn't done that. He has completely bought in to the defense that he has to play, to the team culture, to sacrificing points, and it's been huge for this team. And Sohan the same way. Akinjo even more so than any of them. That to me, this is the best. We talked all year last year about the culture, but boy, it's really shining through now with how these guys have just stepped right in and just bought in right off the bat. It speaks to the players that are returning and the players that were there before them.
I think people want it, though, don't you guys? I mean, like, people kind of want to be part of something that works.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, well, I do think high profile recruits sometimes they don't care as much about winning. Not obviously talking about Kendall Brown, but that can become an issue. They want to come in and shine. And what they don't realize is the way you shine is to win. You'll look a lot better to scouts if you average 9 points and really become a team player on a good team than if you average 18 on a 10 and 20 team. They don't look. There's this huge mistake that all scouts look at as stats and stuff. Man, that's not it. They look at the complete package.
When James Akinjo announced his transfer, I remember there was a big deal about that at the time, and I don't follow it as closely as you guys do, but I remember you guys were like, hey, he's a really good player. But has he been better than you expected or about what you expected?
Better just in terms of the things we just talked about, because I that was the one I worried about more than anything. Even when I went to the Bahamas, there was some guys there from Syracuse, some writers who had covered him when he played at Georgetown, and I was saying how good he's been. They were like, he's not very good. He's a ball hog. He's selfish. He's got an attitude, and that's what he was known for at Arizona a little bit. I mean, just that it was kind of all about him, or at least he played that way. I'm not saying talking about his character, but he was just, kind of a guy that wanted to shoot at the time. But man, I think the way he's bought in has been the key to this team. I mean, and I don't sit there and compare people. Oh, he's not as good as Butler. He's not as good. I don't care. Like he is who he is. Like those guys are great, but this guy's doing really good things for this team on both ends of the floor and in the locker room.
He has had to be reined in a little bit. There are times when you see almost what we saw with Matthew Meyer for a while, and it's a different type player, but at times you kind of see a little bit too much, but it was almost like
there's that thing we didn't want to see, and it comes just for a minute.
But they have been able. He's not like pushing away. The way that coaching staff handles players is why he is getting better and right in front of us as well.
Absolutely.
As a team player,
As a team player, and I mean, I'm telling you, that guy is a winner. You can just see it in the way he carries himself, in his eyes, that he's a competitor. I love watching him play, and for the most part, even though sometimes he may shoot it a bit too much, I don't feel like he's taking bad shots. Like, I never think, why'd you shoot that? I mean, for the most part, maybe once a game, I'm like, that's a nice shot. But he's taking good shots. I mean, he's getting good shots. He just doesn't always make them, but I think he's doing fine. I think he's great.
Jason, what do you think? I mean, Scott's always had that great the goal of the great culture. He hasn't always had teams with great culture. I mean, sometimes you cannot, you can't push it together. I mean, he's always had pretty much that, but like nothing like it has been. What was the turn where it's now just it's just like the faucet's going and you can't turn it off of what they have going as far as buying into what Scott Drew and Jerome Tang and Jacobs and all those guys want?
I think it was maybe having a few bad seeds, 4 or 5 years ago, and then them all of a sudden paying more and more attention in recruiting to, I don't want to say character, because even the bad seeds weren't bad guys. They just weren't good locker room guys. So, but really researching people's backgrounds, looking at their families, paying more attention to how are they going to fit in the locker room. And I think bringing in the Davion Mitchells, Freddie Gillespie, just having guys like the Ish at times was a good leader. Good locker room guys, and I think eventually all those bad pieces just kind of got weeded out. And even if you bring one in that you think might be a bad piece, they have no choice but to adapt or not play. And everyone's dead. You hardly ever see anyone transfer. You know what I'm saying? It's like everyone loves it, and people want to win, and there's a good vibe.
And
right
those
now.
who have transferred have kind of just they not disappear, but they
haven't done much.
What's amazing to me about him in the transfer portal is he literally throws a penny in the well and takes out $1. I mean, if somebody leaves, okay, like Deuce Bello, we never heard from him again. But all of a sudden, he goes in the little magical transfer portal and pulls out, someone, like Davion Mitchell, maybe the most dominant player in Baylor basketball history.
And the kid, maybe they don't get Davion Mitchell if the Tyler Harris kid had come to Baylor instead of Memphis, then he kind of struggled to find his place. So it's crazy how things unfolded, and obviously the story with Jared Butler. I'll never forget, about 3 years ago, I was walking out of the Farrell Center, and there was a group of recruits walking out ahead of me. There's like 3 kids, basketball players, high school kids. I didn't know who they were, but I just was eavesdropping, and they were like, "Man, I loved it here. God, that was fun." And this one guy goes, "Man, and that staff. God, I love that staff. Those guys are so," and they were using certain words, but like the kids taught, but they were just raving about the staff, and no names, no Scott Drew, no Dre, it was just the staff. And I think a lot of they have great chemistry on that staff.
Yeah, they do, and they're not afraid to go at each other on occasion.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I love it. I love it, and that plays a key role, man. It does.
What did you think about Chris Beard's comments the other day? They got a lot of people riled up about, the Big 12 going through Lawrence and all of that.
I think that was a calculated remark.
It's
funny because, he and Drew have the same agent. It's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that was kind of, and Beard and Self are their boys, which is fine. Self's one. I know Self real well. I think he's awesome. But, that was calculated. That was a little jab. But, there's plenty of things you could jab right back, like his record against Scott Drew is 2 6th-place finishes in a row in the league.
But he won't go there. And you know what? They might behind the scenes, but they'll just be saying that, hey, I saw where Texas had a bunch of champagne bottles ordered for the.
They might.
They might do. I think they have a way of subtly putting up bulletin board material.
I can always tell, just because I've been around it, so I can tell when coaches are taking jabs. Like when Baylor beat Kansas 1 year. So it's like, well, what Baylor really did good, they just made shots. That just means, they're really good at making shots. That's like a huge slap in the face. They're saying they took a bunch of dumb shots that we were guarding them on. They just made them for once. And then Beard is like, what Baylor does really good, they're really good at one-on-one basketball. He said that last. That's a huge jab. And then I turn on the game the next night, and he's got his little point guard, the Georgetown Matt McClung or whatever. He's out there shooting shots with 3 guys, and so what's that? You're playing more one-on-one ball than anyone. So,
hey man, good to see you. Enjoy the night, the weekend, and see you tomorrow.
All right, guys.
Jason King, Sikkim365.com on many things Baylor football, men's basketball. It aims against Iowa State, 2 unbeaten top 10 teams. Baylor defending national champions, number 1 against Iowa State, and then the game tomorrow night, Sugar Bowl and Ole Miss and Baylor. When we come back, Sam Bradshaw, his analytical X's and O's breakdown of Ole Miss and Baylor. What can each team expect to do? That and more. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports in New Orleans.
It's New Year's Eve. River and Liquor and Wine is they've probably stocked a lot of people around Waco for what they are. And if you've already made your plans, it might be too late on a lot of regards. But look, if you're going to get something for a party, if you're going to get something, you've got to go River and Liquor and Wine, because they have an unbelievable selection of high-end bourbons, great craft beer, wines, spirit, whatever you want, they've got it, and they have the expertise to help you find what you need, especially if you don't really know what you're after. If you want to get something for a craft beer, for a person who likes craft beer, they'll kind of lead you in that direction. If you're somebody like me who likes really nice bourbon, they'll tell you everybody likes this. You'll definitely like this. Get that. Or if you're just going to get some stuff for a party, they can help you in every single regard. Great customer service and a speedy drive-through window. Riverman Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less.
sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Belmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Live from the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, this is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sanders throws too high and intercepted, and being run back by J.T. Woods inside the 10 and out of bounds. They're going to mark him right near the 10-yard line.
Our Sugar Bowl coverage is brought to you by Ideal MRI, Edward Jones Investments agents Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The Willis Law Firm. American Bank. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Genco Federal Credit Union. Camille Johnson Realtors. Automatic Chef Canteen. BetUS.com. Coach's XXX Smoke Barbecue. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Thanks to a lot of people, we're entering the last hour of our coverage, at least from the Marriott Hotel during the week. We've got our pregame show tomorrow, Baylor and Ole Miss tomorrow evening. More on that a little bit later on. But Avery, Carlos, Willie, Dexter, Charlie, Josh, and Tony, who have been a part of the hospitality, some of the technical things, and also, the setup from the hotel, the Marriott Hotel here in the Arts District. We're now joined by Sam Bradshaw, S11, who breaks down the X's and O's, the trends, and whatever else. And Alabama, of course, now we want to update that 17-6 Alabama, and they have the ball inside their 30-yard line after fielding a punt. Sam Bradshaw. Sam, so let's do this. What will Baylor want to do, and you expect them to be able to do against Ole Miss, both defense or offense?
Thanks for having me on, Smokey. And first and foremost, offensively, I think we already know what Baylor wants to do. They want to run the wide zone. They want to do some basic companion plays to it. They want to have controlled passing game. And then whenever you creep too many guys up, they want to take a shot deep. That's who they've been all year. And when they've had Bohannon in the lineup, they've mixed in a little bit more quarterback run. I think they'll be able to do that against Ole Miss. Ole Miss only really faced one wide zone team in Louisville, and Louisville spent a half shooting themselves in the foot. And then in the second half, they got basically what they wanted offensively. But the problem is Louisville couldn't stop Ole Miss, so the game was basically over. But you also had a lot of other teams, such as Bama, such as A&M, such as Auburn, just Arkansas, you name it. They all were able to run on this front pretty successfully. And Ole Miss has adopted a lot of the Iowa State style, drop 8 guys into coverage and ask your front 5 to really hold up outnumbered against the run. And it's kind of worked, kind of hadn't. There's still a bit of a work in progress on that. They've got a couple athletic dudes like Sam Williams up front, but it just hadn't materialized into a top-line defense, and I think Baylor's going to have success doing that. The big challenge with this team comes on the other side of the ball, and that is where you've got kind of a hybrid offense of what Briles did at Baylor and the West Coast concepts that Kiffin had from NFL and USC tenures, and that's where it gets really difficult because they're going to spread you out. They're going to go up tempo. So you not only have to get lined up, you got to get play call in, and guys have to be conditioned. That's going to be a challenge. They're going to be able to take some shots. They're going to want to run the ball. But I think what Baylor's going to do is they're going to ask a lot of their front 4, front 5 against the run, kind of steal a body towards coverage and ask guys like Siaki Ika, Gabe Hall, and those guys to hold up against the Ole Miss offensive line. And if they can do that the way they did that against a number of the teams down the stretch, this game changes because a lot of what Ole Miss does from the old Briles system is it's a numbers game. You're going to get into some spread formations, and they don't do this exclusively the way the Baylor teams of old did with the wide splits. But they're going to spread you out as far as they can to find creases to run against. And when you drop extra guys in to take those creases away, they're going to take deep shots on you. However, if you can hold up with relatively few guys against the run, and you can crowd out a lot of those throwing lanes for RPOs and things like that, there's really not a whole lot of recourse for them. They're ending up having to do a throwing game, much like Oklahoma State did in the Big 12 title game, which was very much hit or miss, depending on how high level you can be in the passing game. So if Baylor can hold up in the trenches, this could be a really good game for them. But this Ole Miss offense is no joke. I don't think they're going to have an offensive line the caliber of like an Alabama or a Georgia, but they're pretty good, and they've been able to knock some teams around. But then again, teams like A&M and Bama have been able to hold up against them in the trenches and give them 2 of the worst halves of offense they've had all year.
Sam, how much does the mobility of Matt Corral worry you for Baylor's defense, given that that's been kind of one of the things they've just not been great at, one of the few things they've not been great at all year?
Obviously, it's a concern anytime you have a guy that can do that, whether you've done well against it before or not. Anytime somebody can throw on the run the way he can, anytime somebody's as dangerous of a scrambler as he is, anytime somebody is as elusive in the pocket as he is. He is a very capable runner. He reminds you a lot of what you saw from Patrick Mahomes at Tech in terms of just being able to extend plays and being able to make big plays on the ground. And neither guy is a guy that's going to win like a 4x100 relay for you, but they're just very capable runners, even if their sprinting top speed isn't amazing. They're dangerous, and he is a guy that, he's accurate, he's got a great arm, and he can buy time for that offensive line in the pocket. He's a guy that you have to keep tabs on. I don't know if you necessarily need to spy him, but you have to be mindful of quarterback draw. They love to scheme him up for quarterback draws, and a lot of RPOs built around that. I think I even saw him do one where they had the running back acting like he's lead blocking for him, and then the running back gets a touchdown up the seam, and Matt Corral just does a little jump pass.
Who do you look at as far as wideouts or tight ends that could be a focus and need to have some big games, especially because we expect Ole Miss to be physical with the ball in the air? They talked about that in their media sessions earlier this week of, the fight for the football. Is it R.J. Sneed? Is it a Ben Sims? Who are you kind of looking at in that regard for Gary Bohannon to find in the passing game?
Well, Tyquan Thornton's obviously the leading receiver. He's going to have a good game just in terms of making a lot of those possession catches and then getting what he can after. But Ben Sims is a guy that I really think is going to be a key. A lot of teams have had success with their tight ends against these guys. I know A&M had a lot of success with Weidermeyer in the second half going after these guys. So I think Ben Sims is going to be a key one. Whichever of Estrada or Snead is out there, I think both of those guys have made a good productivity over the course of the year with a lot of those possession catches. I think they'll be guys that can do a lot for you. But, it's just more just being sharp with your offense overall. This is a team that they've got some athletes up front, and generally they run pretty well, but they're going to drop 8. They're usually giving you some form of cover 3, but they'll mix it up and throw in some Tampa 2 and some other coverages like that. But they want to ask you to put together 10-play drives to go score. And generally teams have been able to get into the red zone on them. And with the exception of like 3 of the recent teams they played, like Vandy, Liberty, and A&M, most of the teams are scoring in the red zone pretty well. But you just got to make sure that they can't camp out on your basic counters. Because when Louisville played them with a lot of that wide zone scheme, they were cheating towards the wide zone basically all first half. And they were also all over the simple bootleg passes that you expect to see. Took Louisville a while to adjust to a short controlled passing game and to clean up some of their blocking. And in the second half, they were able to get them. But against the opposing offense you're facing, you can't spend a half stubbing your toe. You have to be sharp, and you have to have a game plan that puts you in a position to be successful. Grimes has had a lot of time to prepare. He needs to have several ways for them to counter things because they are going to look at what they see on film, and they're going to be all over that. If you have something else that can make them pay for it, Ole Miss could be in trouble.
Gary Bohannon is back, it appears. Of course, Shapen, not it appears, he's back. He's going to start tomorrow night against Ole Miss. How much must it be put on his shoulders? How much can he carry in this game, and how much does he need to carry against Ole Miss, in your opinion?
It depends on the looks they're giving you. I think in terms of game plan, you're putting a lot on him. In terms of how often you run him, that's where it might be measured. I don't know how well he's progressing from his injury, whether he's 100% no concern or whether it's kind of touch and go. But you're going to have to run him at least a little bit. But the key is you need to find some concepts that aren't predictable, that he's comfortable with, to keep the chains moving in the short to intermediate passing game. And you've got to be able to have those, and then a couple constraints that if they try and take away the run too aggressively, much like some of the modifications they've done to their basic quarterback runs that got Oklahoma in the second half, a couple of little wrinkles like that could go a long way to making it a long night for Ole Miss.
Hey, Sam, thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, sir. Appreciate your time today. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Sam Bradshaw, S11, breaks down X's and O's, trends, tendencies, etc. And he does that for us on SicEm365.com and also during the show. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour continues. Kendall Kaut. We had Jason King to talk football. He's here in New Orleans and men's basketball. Kendall Kaut will break down the tendencies and X's and O's of the men's basketball matchup with unbeaten Iowa State and defending national champion, unbeaten number 1 ranked Baylor. SicEm 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I mentioned this last week, and this is such a cool deal. Carl Campbell, ex-military, he lives in the Austin area. He listens to us and has been a part of the show for quite some time. He told me about the fact that we were texting back and forth, and he was in Waco, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He took his wife to Ideal MRI. He had heard me discuss them, tell you the options of what they do and all of what they can do to help you with not only lowering the cost of an MRI, but also the insurance part of it as well. He said her insurance won't allow the MRI. And so until she does months and months of physical therapy, you can read to whatever you want with that. Ideal MRI gave her an MRI. I did not ask about the diagnosis of what was hurting or what they needed to see. But the good news is that he was able to get his wife into Ideal MRI. And, of course, the cost was amazingly low. $497 or less every single time low. on an average MRI is $1,100. So that's what Ideal MRI can do. I shared those text messages with Dr. Rob Maxey, and he was thrilled to see that Ideal MRI came through for Carl and his wife and family. IdealMRI.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all mid-sized trucks. The Big Finish sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Alabama has dominated the statistics in their game with Cincinnati, 363 yards to 127, including
208 yards on the ground, but it's 17-6. They're heading to the fourth quarter. Alabama has the ball, up 17-6. Now, again, tomorrow, it's Iowa State Baylor, 2 unbeatens in men's basketball, top 10, defending champions, number 1, all of that. Hilton Coliseum in Ames, and Sikkim365.com men's basketball analyst joins us, Kendall Kaut. Kendall, why is Iowa State as good as they are right now?
Smokey, always happy to be on with y'all. I think it's a reflection of what TJ Otzelberger's done. I talked to George Condon at Big 12 Media Days. Everybody wanted to talk to Chris Beard or KU. Didn't want to talk to Iowa State. And he just went on and on about how he felt like the team had quit on itself last season, that the coaching staff didn't care. While Otzelberger comes over from UNLV, brings in all new guys. Do you think, how could you get that much better in 1 year? As you kind of mentioned there, Smokey, they only have 2 guys back from last year's roster who are in their rotation. One of them is on the bench. Another guy plays about 40% of their minutes. So wholly new team. If you see 0-18 Iowa State last year, not the same cats coming into the building tomorrow.
Kendall, LJ Cryer's dealt with an injury, and Baylor's had to deal with that. Are you all concerned about their depth heading into the conference season because they've had some bumps and bites and bruises?
Paul, right now I'm not worried about it. Obviously, Omicron, whatever cron we'll get next, and the variants is always a risk. I think they'll be fully healthy to go tomorrow. Watch, they'll test positive for COVID on Saturday morning after the snowstorm in Ames. But I think they're pretty good. And I think last game, Paul, really showed how the depth can work, where Jeremy Sohan steps up, can play minutes there. Matt Meyer still hasn't had to play 30 minutes tonight, which shows how good the depth is. I think where I'd be most concerned is if Jonathan Chachua had an injury. I think that's when you'd really get concerned. But as long as he stays healthy, as good as all those other guys are, I think everybody else has somebody else who could replace them and keep this as a top 5 team.
Kendall, as we turn the page on the new year, obviously Baylor's sitting pretty undefeated in at number 1, but has anything been a surprise to you at this point, or is this about what you expected?
Craig, they've beaten my expectations. You all had that good interview with Jerome Tang yesterday. I always love how honest he is in his appraisal, and he mentioned, I think, that the margin of error just seems bigger than he thought, and that's, I think, the same thing for me. And obviously Jerome Tang knows a trillion times more about hoops than me, but what really sticks out is that Baylor can shoot poorly against Villanova for a little bit and just clamp down defensively. Or Baylor can play Stanford and say, these guys aren't that good, and just rain threes on them. And so I think it's the ability for Baylor to adapt to what they have. And I really think that Jonathan Chachua, I know I'm kind of hammering him right now, but I think he's the most underrated player in the Big 12. And I think Ochai Agbaji would be the player of the year if they were voting right now for how well he's done at Kansas. But I think if you kind of dig into the stats, if you watch his role for Baylor, I don't know if there's a more important player in the country than him.
By the way, you brought up the weather. It's 25 degrees at Ames, Iowa right now. Tomorrow morning tomorrow when they tip off, it will be 5 degrees with a 70% chance of snow. Now, that doesn't affect the game, but that is that's like waking up to a different part of the world.
It definitely is, Smokey. I was driving up here from Kansas City. It left at about 9, got up here about 1, and I'm going about 85 on the highway, just kind of cruising along, no cops in sight. And I start seeing all these cars on the side of the road, and I'm thinking, man, people can't drive in the rain here. And then I start looking at my windshield wipers, and they're frozen, and I see more cars on the side of the road. So it was really badly icy here. I went across the street, bought the biggest ice scraper they have, so I'll be trekking it over to Hilton Coliseum. It's only a mile and a half. How many wrecks can you get in that distance? I don't know, but I didn't buy extra insurance on the rental car, so hopefully we don't have to find out.
That's when you Uber and put it on them.
I think that is a good idea.
No question about it. We're talking to Kendall Kaut, Sikkim365.com, men's basketball analyst.
Kendall, this team, you mentioned the way that the bench worked the other night, or the roles changed. You know, we saw a little bit more of Dale Bonner in a couple of games, and I know that he's not going to have a big role going forward, so much so when they get deep into the conference season. But do you have confidence that when they do get into those guys like Dale Bonner and on down the line that they're not going to lose much when it comes to it if it came to that?
Yeah, Paul, I think that's a good point as it relates to Dale. And I think that the difference between this team and maybe some of the other Baylor teams is, let's just talk about COVID. Well, what happens if Baylor plays Texas, a team Baylor is better than on paper, I think has a better roster, better coaching staff? Well, suddenly Kendall Brown's out. So you might be worried on some past Baylor teams saying one of your best players is gone. Well, I think Dale Bonner is somebody who can step in, play 15 or 20 minutes. That's exceptional depth that Baylor has. You get a little bit deeper down. We haven't seen as much of Jordan Turner and Zach Loveday. I know they like those guys and feel confident in them. But But I do think if you get to that ninth man in Dale Bonner, there is a lot more value there than in Pat Baylor teams where if one of your top 4 guys went out, you better hope you make 15 threes on the evening.
Kendall, I don't mean this as a concern, but is Matthew Meyer, has he unleashed yet? He's now a different player because he's been neutered in a way, in a positive way, with what matters to him, not just scoring. And now he does things a lot of times that are even you don't see him on defense. And it's great turnaround, a different type of player. We saw that last year too. Is he not scoring like you thought, though?
I think that's a fair point, Smokey. And I was kind of preparing for the radio call today tomorrow that I'll be doing with Pat. I'm looking at Matt's stats, and he's only shooting 33% from 3 this season. And so he hasn't been as effective scoring as I think he would have liked. Part of the reason he came back is he thought he could play his way into the first round. I think he knows he's got to be more effective from the field to do that. He's going to have opportunities. I think he's in that weird balance your question alludes to, Smokey, where you don't want to get too aggressive, take a bad shot, get pulled because of the depth Baylor has. But I think he needs to hit more of the open shots than he has. Part of that relates back to conditioning. But he hasn't played 30 minutes a night yet this season. 29 is the highest he's played. He hasn't played more than 25, I think, on any other occasion. So he's got to get a little bit better. I think he knows that. But that's also, I think, a positive sign to know. You've seen good Matt Meyer, evidenced by his performance in Morgantown to win the Big 12 last year for the Bears. So he can hit it, but I do think that's a level for Baylor that he probably needs to play a little bit better for Baylor to beat the Gonzagas and Kansases of the world. But I'm pretty confident Matt will do that. So congratulations on the radio opportunity. That's great. That's a great compliment with all your knowledge and what you bring to the table. Accidentally slipping a Sikkim365.com on that broadcast. And no, don't do that. Don't get yourself in trouble. Thanks for your time, Kendall. Appreciate it. Stay warm. Always a pleasure, fellas. Thanks. That's Kendall Kaut, Sikkim365.com, X's and O's, and men's basketball. Alabama has scored again to now pop that thing open, 23-6 on a touchdown pass from Bryce Young to a tight end, Latu. And that thing's now just a matter of what the final score will be. Yeah, Cincinnati's defense has played well enough to win, in my opinion. I mean, despite giving up, the points right there, they're not the issue. The issue has been, and you can't say they've been some of the issue as far as, not being able to get off the field maybe as much or, Bama's success running the football. But the big story is Cincinnati's offense can't do anything. I mean, they can't do anything. The O-line's having trouble. Ritter's having trouble. He's had multiple balls batted down, doing nothing on third downs. That's been their Achilles heel, and that's why Bama's up 24-6, and we'll probably be up by more than that by the end of this thing. When we come back, we'll hear from Mickey Spagnola. Cowboys into the next to the last week of the regular season. The Cardinals in a game that, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 weeks ago, no question it looked like that. Man, they got to get better to play against what Kyler Murray and what the Cardinals are doing, but they now seem to be in a funk. The Cardinals, and of course losing Hopkins didn't help. And Mickey's next to talk Cowboys and Cardinals. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. That Cowboys and Cardinals game, one of the many games that you can get action on BetUS.com. Look, they've got action on everything around the world. And right now, great opportunities to get great deals. Like $50 deposit, Sikkim 125, Sikkim 200. You get a bonus on that when you use our promo code. Just a $50 deposit, you get a 125% bonus on that. So anything you put in, whether it's $50, $100, $200, $500, you get a bonus if you use promo code Sikkim125 or Sikkim200. Sikkim125 is for cash. Sikkim200 is if you use crypto. So great deals at BetUS.com. The 3-decade leader, whether it's NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball, Major League Baseball, they've got it all year long at BetUS.com. That's BetUS.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all mid-sized trucks. The Big Finish sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICM125 for a 125% bonus on cash, or SICM200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICM125 and SICM200.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour winding down. Paul will wrap everything up for today with the top 5 in about 20 minutes. Now joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey said, get him early before he starts hitting that Happy New Year's thing. And so I don't know if this is early, Mickey, or not. But I know you're sitting back, kicked back, watching football and enjoying life. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I'm watching football, enjoying life, and when we finish, I'll have my first drink, I think.
There you go. I hope that's the case. All right, so this Cowboys team, and we had Gilbrand on earlier. A lot of it was with John Madden and really his thoughts about many things, college football as well. But they don't seem to lean on one side or the other. I know the offense has been in a funk, or the defense. It seems to be about as well-rounded without one side of the ball having to carry you that they've had in quite some time. Is that correct in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and because of that, saying that is the defense has stepped up and played well. I think previously when, the Cowboys had a really nice record or, they got into the playoffs, they relied on their offense. And the defense has stepped up, made a dramatic turnaround from last year when they were historically bad. And I think you got to give credit to Dan Quinn for how he's coordinated the defense. I think you have to give credit to the Cowboys signing some free agents and then lucking into drafting the guy I told them they needed to draft, Micah Parsons, who fell in their lap after the cornerbacks were gone. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of reasons for the upgrade on defense. And if last Sunday is any indication, maybe this offense is getting back in gear. Although I think this game, David, will tell us a lot about this team because I know, Arizona has lost 3 straight, but they are 10-5. And the way I look at it, this is the best team they'll have played since the Kansas City game.
Mickey, you mentioned Micah Parsons. Are they going to start finally listening to you? Maybe give you a little bump, put you in the personnel department?
Yeah. You know what? All you had to do is see his first highlight tape. And I know it's highlights, right? But you could just see there was something about him, right? And my thoughts were, what was the biggest problem the Cowboys had last year on defense? It was stopping the run. It was getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and a cornerback wasn't going to do any of that. And this is the guy they needed. And, boy, he is awfully good. He's, a sack and a half away from the rookie sack record of 14.5. And the best thing about it is he's so versatile. You can play him about 3 or 4 different spots, so that keeps offenses at bay because when they get to the line of scrimmage, they got to look around and figure out where number 11 is and figure out what he's doing. And now I look forward to his animal analogy every week. He called Kyler Murray the cheetah. And somebody says, well, can the lion take on a cheetah? He goes, it has to be a lion pack to take on the cheetah. So I've decided he's not a linebacker. He's a lionbacker from here on out.
So, Mickey, speaking of linebackers, Keanu Neal saw where he is out due to COVID-19 reserve list, but obviously the rules have changed a little bit in the NFL. What does this mean and kind of how the Cowboys navigating all this craziness going on in the NFL right now?
Yeah, it seems like every day that somebody new. This morning when we did Mike McCarthy's press conference, Quentin Bohanna, who they listed yesterday as illness, had tested positive. So the rookie defensive tackle is out, and now Keanu Neal. It just seems one after another after another. I think the thing and they've been virtual. The meetings have been virtual. The only thing they've been doing at the Star is practicing, and then the players go home and they finish the meetings that way. It was up to me. They're shrink wrapping Dak and chaining or locking them into the Omni, right? Then don't let them out. Because you see what happens when these quarterbacks end up on reserve COVID. I just saw where, today Kirk Cousins is out. That certainly doesn't bode well for Minnesota beating Green Bay to help the Cowboys out. If they win and they need a loss, somebody needs to beat Green Bay for that first seed. I would think when you're this close to the playoffs, you just can't take chances. They've done about everything they can do with these guys. They've offered to continue to test family and friends that would be around them, and so usually you worry about guys on New Year's Eve going out, right? Mm-hmm. So close to a game, but now you worry about them going out because they're around other people. A lot of this going forward, you guys, is going to be availability of players in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know that there's things that they have already locked in, but I think that
they have the chance. They can still be the number one seed. And to me, until that's out, I think you put the gas pedal down. And even maybe when it's out, I think you want to end it. I'm always, there's no certain specific percentages of teams who shut it down after they have everything wrapped up, even if they have the number one seed. I don't know if there's anything that's a trend or whatever. But I think this team being young, I think they need to close it out. Try to go 15 or 12 or what is it, 14-3. What the hell?
Well, and here's the deal. Even if you don't get the first seed, the second seed's important because then if you win the first game, you're guaranteed a home game the second round. And assuming Green Bay wins the first seed, okay, play them in the NFC title game, but don't play them in the second round. Have to go to Green Bay. So, I think they've got a lot to play for, and I think Mike McCarthy's looking at it that way. And he keeps talking about how important this game is, and this will be, I think he called it a juggernaut game, because he knows that while Arizona has struggled over the last 3 games, they're still pretty darn good, and they got some pretty darn good talent. And I think he was trying to make sure all along that his team didn't go to sleep on this one, as he talked about, learning to handle success. And he brought up the 6-game winning streak, and then he said Denver came and punched us right in the nose. We can't let that happen again. So, those things will happen in the NFL along the way. I just think the worst loss the Cowboys had was Thanksgiving to the Raiders. That should have never happened. And then I had to remember that there were 28 penalties called in that game.
There are 28 accepted penalties in the game.
Yes, thank you very much.
I went to the game with my girlfriend and my mom, and my mom turned to me during that game and said, this seems like a lot of penalties. I said, yeah, it's a lot of penalties for 3 games.
Right. No, exactly. 14 aside. Yeah.
It's insane. Mickey, the offense, you talked about it briefly at the beginning of the segment, but the offense woke up again and really looked like itself. Tyron Smith's coming back. I know that we try not to put so much weight on one game, especially against a Washington team that was really decimated by COVID over the last couple weeks, but 56 points doesn't happen that often, and it seems like they shook off whatever was in their cobwebs were in their head.
Yeah, I thought so, and I thought one of the reasons was the offensive line. That was one of their better games, and it should improve now with Tyron Smith back this week. And think about this. What they're going to run out there on Sunday is the presumptive starting 5 on the offensive line when they went to training camp. And this will be the first week they've all played together, believe it or not. They've had so much turmoil on the offensive line between COVID, suspensions, injuries, making a change at the left guard spot. And the reason they did that was just the penalties that Connor Williams was getting called for. And it's almost like, well, okay, this is the most penalized guy in the league. I'm going to keep an eye on him. And I think he was getting some that were really uncalled for. So they set him down. And then maybe he settled down, too, because he had a tendency to make his block, but then he wanted to pancake the guy or finish him. And you guys know what happens when a defensive lineman gets blocked and then he turns his back to you to go run after the ball, and it looks like you're holding him up when he throws his hands up. And these officials, they just don't see enough. They just can't see enough. There's too many guys out there. So I think setting him down, helped out. Now he's back in there because playing-wise, he was better. And then the other benefit from getting him back at left guard is Connor McGovern can go back to playing fullback. And that gives them an extra blocker to help with the running game because the tight ends just aren't very good blockers. And so it doesn't, go 2 tight ends, but it doesn't really help. But I think McGovern, he ended up playing 20 snaps this past game. And the majority were in a fullback situation, sometimes offset, and very rarely as the second blocking tight end. So They used, you saw him use Terrence Steele in that position, obviously with the touchdown, the first one by a Cowboys offensive lineman. They said it was the second time and gave Rayfield Wright credit for one back in 1968. But when I went back and read the story in the newspapers that day, he had a picture. He was wearing 85. He was really a tight end that was a backup offensive lineman at the time.
Mickey, thank you. Happy New Year. Go have yourself a drink and enjoy the evening. And, again, the game this weekend with Arizona and the Cowboys. That's Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com with us. Normally Thursdays, but today and this week with all the changes with where we are in New Orleans, the Sugar Bowl and coverage, it was today. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5 to close out the new year and the week. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
By request from loyal viewer and listener Chris, top 5 New Orleans beverages. So, by request. So I did, and these are the ones that I've had at different points in my journeys through New Orleans. Number 5, the Salty Iguana at Auction House Market. Now, I've never actually been to Auction House Market, but I did have this drink at the Super Bowl media party that we talked about so much. Here is what is in that drink. It is tequila, mezcal, vermouth, salt, and lemon, and it'll knock you back a little bit, but it's quite refreshing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm very good for this category, to be honest with you, Paul.
Which drink have you not had at the New Orleans Mardi Gras media party?
Some of them I don't remember.
Yeah, that's,
so
I don't know. Okay.
Some of them was just cup. That's all it was.
Cup of juice.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go to number 4, the Planter's Punch at Jean Lafitte's Old Absinthe House. Jean Lafitte's on Bourbon Street is one of the places I do like to go when I am down here because it's been around since 1807. But the Planter's Punch is, and look, this will pack a wallop. Dark rum, sour, and a float of 151 rum and orange juice and grenadine.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's that'll pack a punch.
That burns my lips and it's not even in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. That's cool. That's an old place. I mean, that is one of the cool things about New Orleans is all the history around here, all the old establishments and whatnot.
Yeah, you walk into a bar 1807. I mean, who historically, and I'm not talking about like Babe Ruth could have drank at that bar. That's great, but like, a
guy named Jean Lafitte could.
Did Andrew Jackson? Like things like that you have to think about. Number 3, the pre-Prohibition Sazerac at Galliano's. I had that last night. It was absolutely fantastic. Rye whiskey.
I got a picture of you sitting in Galliano's
last night.
Yep.
Who sent you a picture?
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
I saw some listeners. I talked to them.
And it looked like you were staring into the space. I'm not sure if this is pre-this or not.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I had 2 of them. So I had the pre-prohibition and the post-prohibition last night, and they were both good. They were both really good.
That's an interesting name, pre-prohibition and post-prohibition.
I mean, it's the different ways they made them.
I'm not sure if there was a picture of you before the first one or after the second one.
I do think it's weird that people would take a picture of me
and send it to me. You know why? Because I have my peeps. Just checking you guys out.
I do think it's weird that you have peeps like that. I'm gonna put that out there.
I'll send you a picture.
Yeah. Number 2, and this is for beer. You can get this pretty much anywhere in New Orleans, but this is my favorite New Orleans beer, Abita Amber. It's a delicious, fantastic beer, and it's good any time of the year. It's not. I didn't mean to rhyme that, but it's one of those things that you don't have to. It doesn't have to be like a winter, fall, summer beer. It's a great beer.
Just a beer.
Yeah.
Beta Amber, delicious beer any time of year. There you go. Whole campaign. There you go.
I never categorized the fall or seasons of drinking a beer. It's a beer.
Well, there's different flavors now. They do the craft beer. Yeah. It's the new thing. I mean, it used to be there was just beer. Now there's a billion different kinds.
I don't know. I remember a couple New Orleans trips ago. I wasn't working with you guys yet, but was there like a grape Abita that you had or some kind of? I seem to remember that for some reason.
Yeah, it was good too. That was really good too. That was great. All right, number 1, the Hurricane at Pat O'Brien's. Look, there's great hurricanes all up and down, but if you're going to go get one and you're in New Orleans, you got to go get the one at Pat O'Brien's. It's great. It's a hurricane. Everybody knows it's in a hurricane. It's rum drink with like several different rums and. It tastes like they poured a bag of sugar in it sometimes, but
really,
I mean, it's sweet. I only drink the sugar alcohols, which is rum, when I'm in New Orleans or like someplace tropical. So New Orleans, I mean, this is a shipping. It's kind of a pirate town, So I'll drink rum here.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. I think I might have had a hurricane back in the day. I don't recall though, probably because I had a hurricane back in the day. But super sweet from what I remember.
Those are the real tall.
I mean, they can make them.
They look
tall.
like a science lab beaker.
Yeah, they have those. I mean, you can just get one in a regular sized cup, and you still has the same effect.
The young homies haven't chimed in on this. Armstrong's not going to. He's like Craig. He's not going to.
Jack and I hung out last night.
Jack's hair all day has looked like he's had a couple of those.
No, he had a couple of hurricanes last night.
Yeah.
I can confirm that.
Okay. All right.
I can confirm that.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh, by the way, before we go, rest in peace to the late, great Betty White.
Yes.
Passed away today at 99 years old.
Did she really?
Yeah, so funny and so talented. And I think that, like, of the famous people in the world, I think that she's one of the few that we all agree we love Betty White.
Yeah. She was hard not to like at all times. Yeah.
Yeah, her Ryan Reynolds back and forth, especially how timely it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
They were going back and forth. She was telling him she could, stop having a crush on her, and then, she passes away the next day, and a week away from 100 or a couple days?
Yeah, it was in January, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, she was close to 100, so.
Jeez.
If you had Keith Richards in the pool, he's still kicking.
Going,
but Betty White, that's a real shame. By the way, I do want to mention too, Jarrett Daggy has entered the transfer portal. Let's go, West Virginia fans! You got to be excited about that. But I just saw that.
Do you have a feeling that there's people with like confetti coming down, going, "We did it!"
Yeah,
dude.
They wanted him gone.
All due respect, man. Like, it's kind of like the Charlie Brewer thing. It's kind of like you reached your potential that you had there, but like at some point it comes time to move on. I feel that way about it.
I get that, and I agree 100%. And it's worked out for Baylor.
Yeah.
I don't know though why there has to be immediate like throwing knives and darts and bullets and guns.
No,
it's just those. Just let he helped you at times. He's better than Jarrett Daggy ever was at West Virginia. That's for sure. That's
true.
Hey, a note about Jackson Player, and I'm not just using this. I just spoke with Jackson. He has numerous options of where he's going to play college football next year, and one of them, without question, on his radar and in play is Baylor, the former Midway and Tulsa defensive lineman. No question, just based on the short conversation with him, that Baylor is right smack in the middle of that conversation.
I mean, there's a couple places that we could all suggest that he go if he doesn't want to go to Baylor.
Yeah, no, I know, but they're not players in the game, Paul.
No, yeah. Hey, look at your school. He's got a friend there.
Oh yeah, Will Nixon. Will Nixon.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that's right. Golly, I hope he stays there. Who knows?
Although I don't think Jackson will ever have a problem making friends. So I don't think that's a big deal for him.
Jackson is such a great. As much 40 years of covering high school football. Put this up there. I'm not saying he had the highest motor, but there was nobody with a higher motor. And don't underestimate that as saying he just had to play hard. He is incredibly gifted and talented. His technique is incredible.
I've never seen coaches use a player in practice like they use Jackson Player.
Yeah, you're right.
Where they could say like, hey, and he got it and knew where he was mature enough not to push the buttons because they had a center with a problem of messing up the snap and like hitching on the snap and false starting, and so they said, all right, in practice today, and I don't think they told the center this, they just told Jackson, hey, I want you to harass him until he gets mad at you. You know where the line is, and it worked. And after 1 week of doing that in practice, didn't happen again for the rest of the year. And that was not, that was the coach's idea, but it was Jackson's ability to execute it, which is why I think, it's one of the things that he'll help anybody anywhere just based on those kind of things.
27-6, Alabama is winding it down against Cincinnati. They'll move on. There's just about 2 minutes left. Brian Robinson's had a huge game. It's been methodical. Cincinnati's, Craig mentioned this, the defense has played their asses off. The offense just has done nothing against an Alabama defense that at times has been vulnerable and suspect at times, but they have dominated that game.
Cincinnati had to play a perfect game, and they've not played a perfect game. Missing out on the fumble opportunity on the muff punt, just not being able to do much of anything at all in the passing game, not really they were able to move the ball a few times, but then when they got down to the red zone, Alabama stiffened, and all they could muster was field goals, and, that's just not going to get it done. And I think, offensively, I think Cincinnati played pretty conservative from what I saw as well, and based on some of the feedback that I'm reading, not the best day for their coaches either, even though Ritter's going to be the one that probably gets most of the blame. But regardless, just all across the board, Alabama won that game. And look, you can say what you want. If you want to make this a point about the Power Fives or whatever, I watched Alabama beat Notre Dame worse than this on more than one occasion. So I don't think it says anything necessarily about the Power Fives versus the non-Power Fives. It's also Bama. Are we going to pretend like they wouldn't do this to pretty much everybody? Would there be other teams? Like maybe Baylor could have had a more competitive game? Probably, yeah. But they're getting snubbed the way Cincinnati's always gotten snubbed.
But they could have played for someone else and won 27-6.
Yeah.
So like you said, 27-6, about the average of most of the semifinal games. But that's now a final. 27-6, Alabama moves on to play Michigan or Georgia. We'll be back on the air with our pregame tomorrow. We'll put all that up on social media. Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims for Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke, all of our incredible sponsors that are bringing you this coverage from New Orleans. Avery, Carlos, Willie, Dexter, Charlie, Josh, and Tony for all of what they've done to help set things up for us. I'm David Smoke. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Happy New Year. By the next time we speak with you, it'll be 2022. What a run this year has been. Good night from New Orleans, Louisiana.